on emotional connection and presented by Anna Berlin and Michael Cook. Michael and Anna's presentation explores the fundamentals of how we connect and disconnect emotionally with the world we live in. Michael's metaphor and prose presentation draws from creative inspiration through poetry, short stories, and books. Anna's presentation complements Michael's talk with research findings illustrating what makes us tick and how we can learn to do and feel better. Michael James Cook, PhD, retired here in 2003 after 25 years as a clinical psychologist at De La Pole General Hospital in Hull, Yorkshire, England. He now focuses on writing poetry and fiction that appeals to the eccentric in us, filling our essential need to be transported outside of the box. His forthcoming book, 45 Seconds, is pure, honest, often raw, and surreal. Anna Elena Berlin is a certified professional life coach. She is a full-time experience of life researcher and writer of human dynamics. Thinking deeply about human nature and the human condition are her undeniable passions. Her forthcoming book, Get What You Need, presents her findings from a wide spectrum of research literature and includes experience of life management skills. Please join me in welcoming Michael and Anna.
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think you took my first.
Sorry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have any shrinks in the house this morning? Would you like to put your hands up? Shrinks.
Oh, great.
I guess not. Okay, this morning Anna and I want to talk about emotional connections. I hope you find what we have to say informative and stimulating. If you just take away one thing that you feel will enhance your life and get you maybe to make adjustments which you never thought of, well, I'm sure this is going to make your life a richer one. The life we live is all about change and adapting to change. That's what makes us the most intelligent species on the blue planet. After all, we are pack animals. We seek out others and want to be emotionally connected and share our feelings of sadness and joy. So what do we want? We want to feel included, to have a sense of control over our lives. We want to be liked, or at least accepted. When I was involved with the orphanage on the south side of the lake, the children wanted to make an instant emotional connection. Yes, of course, they were loved, yet they still felt abandoned by their families. I don't have children, so when I first visited the orphanage and found myself surrounded by 5 or 6 little ones, I felt emotionally overwhelmed. That I, a complete stranger to them, would refer to me as Pappy. I was moved to tears as I am today. At one time we had 5 siblings, very close in age. And for me personally, I felt sadness in the knowledge that it was highly likely these children would go to different homes, and the emotional connection with each other would be severed. The joy came when a couple from Mexico City adopted all 5 of them. Out of feelings of sadness comes joy. Let's look at sadness and joy, which are inextricably linked. Tough word, that. Why? Because it enriches our lives. At Lakeside, we are an aging pack. All of us have experienced loss, but it's what we take from this. Even in our darkest times, we find deep within ourselves a process to cope and then heal. And this is helped by the people who we emotionally connect with. Emotions of sadness and joy are good. It's knowing what to do with our feelings. Give them both a voice. Let them be heard. If we take sadness into our lives, it gives us increased compassion to understand. To limit our feelings and not share them disconnects us. And I understand that not everybody wears their heart on their sleeves. Yet we want to seek it out. Anna, in the next part of today's talk, will address what we can do to change our behaviours and habits and turn negatives into positive emotions. To be included is a fundamental foundation on which we emotionally connect. Not to do so alienates us and can, if we do not read the signs gifted to us from a friend or family member, can over time break that connection down. So how do we go about emotionally connecting? I personally call them feelers. You're dipping your toe in the water, and these can come in various guises. A question, a comment, a gesture, a joke, and a touch. Being able to read somebody's body language, a facial expression, or a heartfelt hug helps the brain respond in a whole different way. How we react to these feelings and the responses that come from another defines whether we want to make an emotional connection. Our body language is a reaction to different scenarios. It's automatic, and half the time we don't even know we're doing it. Let's go back to the dating game, shall we? I guess for some of you this won't apply, but you can still remember, I hope. The first connection we make is in the smile. If we are attracted to someone, if the smile is reciprocated, then both have made a tentative connection. Then what enters the game is the eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. Forgive the cliche. Usually what happens next is that it's what I call peekaboo. We are shy, so we sneak our looks, trying to be coy and not blatant. But when both eyes lock and the smiles are sustained for at least 3 seconds, our brain is now going into overdrive. Dopamine, adrenaline, serotonin are released, and our heart rate increases. They're like mine before I got up on stage a few minutes ago. The eyes have now made an emotional connection. Our attraction to the other is not ready yet just to be vocal. We first give them the vertical look. And what I mean by this is top to toe. It's the animal instinct in us. For men, they are looking to see if a woman is of fertile stock. Breasts and hips are the main focus of attention. The same applies for women, but they're more selective in what they look at. He has a kind face, a nice smile. So if both criteria are met, then one or the other will move closer to engage in conversation. Friendship conversations are around 2 to 4 feet apart. So when horizontal eye contact enters the game, then we have possibilities of fireworks. It's hard to detect sometimes with people that have dark eyes to see if they dilate. If they do, then a connection is ready to move to the next level. This is a good indicator, but be aware that other factors might have caused the pupil to dilate. This could be alcohol, or drugs, or even lighting. This is your decision. This is a positive example of an emotional connection. Not all connections have the same outcome. In women, their sensibilities are very much fine-tuned to that of a man. Yes, ladies? Yeah? Okay. Men have a tendency when dealing with rejection not to let their feelings expose themselves, even though they may be experiencing emotional pain inside. I call it the big boys don't cry scenario. A woman, if emotionally or closely connected with a girlfriend, will share this experience to ascertain a potential fault in her behaviour or a habit about doing the same things the same way every time. I call this the sweet and sour experience. Why? Because we expose our vulnerabilities when we try to make an emotional connection. Our belief is that only sweetness can come out of trying. But when that connection is rejected, those vulnerabilities become sour, and they have a tendency to resonate, which diminishes our confidence in the future. Awareness of your style of emotional connection is important too. You may think that nothing needs changing, but there's always room for improvement. It may well be that when you get nervous, you tend to shut down or become more sensitive to comments. You may think that the touchy-feeling approach does not work for you, or you may use humour or sarcasm more than you should. Extensive research indicates that emotional communication skills are essential in a more fulfilling relationship. And just when you think you have been there and got the t-shirt, then think again. Age bears no relevance. You dig it? So you have opened your mind and you're willing to take on board new ideas. And that's great. But this is not a one-way street. Once you think you have honed your new skills, try them out on a friend for feedback. Then if you feel happy, you must also be aware of your partner's attempts in emotional communication. Be more attentive, listen more, and try out your new skills. After all, it's not rocket science. Interaction can only lead to further interaction. You say, I'm shy around other people. No problem. You can endear yourself to others by being attentive, observant, and answering with a nod or a smile, or just a gentle touch. If all this sounds uncomfortable to you, think British. It's the Queen country. Let's call these foundation blocks to getting the best of our relationship house. I'm going to let Anna take over now and talk about how we can overcome our habits and behaviours which can often get in the way of making emotional connections with others.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. Good morning. When I look out at you all today, I see that we have in common more than our shared experience of lakeside living. I see that we are energetically connected in ways that caused all of our hearts to beat at the same time in a mere 20 seconds, once our attention was on the same thing. And why one person laughing or crying causes others to laugh or cry as well. The research literature shows that the essential impulse of all life is a will to connect. According to Lynn Taggart's astute book, The Bond, Deep Connection is the quality most essential to human nature. We were never meant to live a life of isolation and self-serving survival. And this is the important part. Human beings experience the greatest stress and the most serious illnesses when we are isolated from others and from a sense of connection. An enormous body of research reveals that the root cause of stress and ultimately illness is a sense of isolation. Our modern devotion to competition has created a habitual inclination to pit ourselves against each other, which is most toxic to our species. This being against each other is the poster child of emotional alienation. Lifestyle risk has less to do with someone having a heart attack than does alienation and isolation from others, from our own feelings, and from connecting to a higher power. Heart disease can actually be viewed as a disease of emotional disconnection. Brigham Young University pooled and analyzed data from 148 studies that averaged 7 years each, and concluded that relationships of any kind, good or bad, improved your odds of survival by 50%. They found that isolation was the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day or being an alcoholic, and it's twice as harmful as obesity. The findings show that strong individuation and preoccupation with self is extremely bad for our health. So why are so many emotionally disconnected when having a good connection is so vital to the health and well-being of our species? According to the highly insightful book, Fear of Intimacy, by Robert Firestone, PhD, and Joyce Catlett, being close to another in a loving relationship makes one aware that life is precious, but eventually must be surrendered. If we embrace life, we must also face death's inevitability. Some people are negatively predisposed toward those who tempt them to lower their defenses and inadvertently expose them to potential pain, loss, or rejection once again by seeking to emotionally connect. This despite the fact that it is essential to our inherent human need to connect in order to flourish. According to the findings from Dr. Firestone's more than 20-year research project involving couples and families, people are afraid to realize their dreams. They also have an intolerance of affection that is especially notable in close relationships. Intimate relationships between couples and families were the most resistant to further development, which can easily be associated with their finding that people tend to maintain negative attitudes about themselves. Let's look at this last part for just a moment. What appears to be, besides the point of emotional connection, our own negative views of ourselves, is actually the source of emotional disconnection. The research literature has led me to believe that people reflect how they feel about themselves onto others. This is huge if the emotional connection you need is to have a love partner in your life. It is essential to understand that it's difficult to get someone great in your life if you don't feel great about yourself. Talk about the most important emotional connection of all. The connection we have with ourselves and our elusive emotions has got to be it. The way we feel about ourselves, more than any other element of living, determines how we experience our lives. The key to our own experience of life is held within our own self-views. If you find connecting with people challenging, learning how to feel good about connecting to yourself is the most beneficial place to start and is more than worthwhile. The next best place to focus your attention on, in my opinion, is learning to come to terms with the nature of our physical lives, with the temporary nature of our physical lives. The research literature indicates that we choose between fully investing in life in spite of its temporal nature, or we are accommodating to death and defend death against death anxiety by limiting our gratifications and denying our zest for life. In other words, you can deny your innate human need to connect, attempting to avoid the pain of loss, or you can understand that loss can't be avoided because dying is inevitable, and make the most of connecting while you are still experiencing your very limited lifespan. So what else can make emotionally connecting so challenging? Well, our emotions firmly reside in the realm of our subconscious mind, where we can be at its mercy when connection is involved. Our awe-inspiring subconscious accounts for 95% of our minds, and it processes 40 million bits of information per second. That's 1 million times more per second than our conscious minds do. Our subconscious minds yield extraordinary power over our conscious minds, bodies, beliefs, perceptions, thoughts, attitudes, values, behaviors, feelings, emotions, and how we experience our lives. Learning how to get it to cooperate with your deep needs and conscious goals is beyond beneficial. I particularly appreciate the effective results detailed in the book Side K, The Missing Piece/Peace in Your Life by Robert Williams. His approach to improving people's lives through understanding the differences between the conscious and subconscious mind focuses on getting positive results. This appears to be more effective than the traditional approach, which obsesses over finding the origin point of the subconscious mind's conflict. It may sound too daunting to address subconscious issues that keep us from the good feeling life that emotional connection enables. Those that have issues with connecting to others aren't aware that their subconscious residing emotions are holding them hostage from the fulfillment that it gives. Because of recent findings on the brain's lifelong neuroplasticity and new ways to manage our habits, we can now learn how to work with the subconscious mind to make the most of our very finite lives. There are well-written, study-backed books available to help you to learn to replace ill-serving emotional bad habits and with subconscious good habits to improve how your life feels. In doing this, you make better use of your subconscious's expansive energy and learn to make better emotional decisions. One of the best books to help people find and fix their bad habits is The Power of Habit: Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business by Charles Duhigg. I know some of you out there are thinking that you are too old and set in your ways for this to work for you, so it really doesn't apply. But this is wrong thinking, because studies on centenarians enabled by the technology of MRI and CAT scans have proven that learning that challenges the brain enables it to grow more gray matter. And, are you listening? Fights off dementia. In my view, this wondrous gift provided by neuroplasticity makes learning in our elder years as important as childhood learning, if not more so. Now let's go back to Michael for more insight.
Turn yours on?
It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, when we get to 60 plus and we see ourselves as reaching the era of maturity. Let's just hold it there. I like the idea of 60 as being redefined as the new 40, which means we can lie about our age. Well, a white lie. Why? Because I just told you. My father had this wonderful phrase, which he repeated time and time again when I did something stupid. He would say, Michael, the older you get, the dapper you get. It kind of still resonates with me now. The point being is, do we really learn from our mistakes? In some cases we do, and others, which Anna pointed out, we reintroduce our bad habits. We put up defences. Why? Because it served us well in the past, or so we think. trip to Mexico, I was in a relationship. We were both writers, and we chose a house that afforded us peace and tranquility to write. But when I found myself alone, I slowly started to become depressed. And I coined the phrase, solitude is heaven and loneliness is hell. It was not serving me well, as the mental balance that I thought was great at first was quickly being taken over by loneliness. Conversation was limited to my two dogs. Though tentative as they are, they would find some devious plan to slope off when I read them back my poetry. I had to change. I had to get back into the game of life. I had to get a life, and I had to get into it. It's not easy, ladies and gentlemen, when you suddenly find that when conversation came easy, it was now becoming a struggle. You never forget how to ride a bike. Yeah, right. My twice monthly attendance at the Riders Group afforded me the United States' greatest invention. Which is anybody? 2 for 1 drinks, no? Hugging. Hugging. I like hugging. It not only gives you an emotional connection, but a physical one too. How to kill 2 birds with 1 stone springs to mind. So after listening to Anna, I thought about my habits, and did they serve me well? Well, here's a short list of my likes. 1, sex. 2, writing. 3, alcohol. 4, a little weed. Oh, and smoking. Not necessarily in that order. Being a procrastinator, I shall address them all in good time. I did, however, think a lot about sex. I could make a New Year's resolution to give it up. And then I thought, being a lapsed Catholic, maybe Lent might be better. That too was a no-no. Okay, that's enough about sex. What I do want to touch on now is how our senses react. I see myself as an emotional person. I do cry. Not as bad as John Dana, who seems to be able to turn on the waterworks at the drop of a hat. It was something that I could not afford when I was working as a clinical psychologist. It was a constant battle every day not to take what I had seen and heard home with me. I had to become emotionally frigid. I asked myself now, how did that serve me? And the simple answer was, it didn't. When you see a woman who's been badly beaten and raped by her husband because his excuse being it was a Friday night and he had a little too much to drink, on hearing that I made love with my wife that same night as though everything was okay, I had to erase those images. And still to this day, the 24/7 news cycle, which brings us horror in the form of entertainment, I just wanted to crawl inside my television and scoop her up into my arms. When I saw the little Vietnamese girl running naked from her village after the napalm attack. The image seen through the eyes after all these years still haunts us all. We are emotionally connected with her. We all see things differently throughout our lives that resonate and make us and change us, hopefully for the better. Just that last paragraph has connected us all to those vivid images. The eyes are an amazing organ that send incredible messages to our subconscious mind, which processes them and tells us how our emotions should react. That could manifest itself in anger, violence, jealousy, joy, and sadness. It's how we deal with those situations determines how emotionally we deal with others' feelings. We all draw on previous experience because we think it's a quick fix, because it seemed to work in the past. Just going back to the drunken husband who on Saturday, when sober, is full of remorse to his wife. Ask yourself, does the fist justify the actions of the subconscious because of his response to alcohol? It's what he knows, ladies and gentlemen. His brain becomes conditioned and that's the message it tells him how he should react. In my first book, Diamond Formation, I make reference to the subconscious mind as being the jailer. We have a tendency to lock away what's bad and traumatic so we can carry on living. But yet sometimes a jailer can be bribed, and those bad things in our lives resurface. The eyes might see something that brings it all back. Or when we're asleep, it may come back as a bad dream, or even a nightmare. I call it dormant post-traumatic stress. We think we've buried it. We think we've got over it. We may be stronger now and deal with those emotions better, but they will never go away because the brain is one huge library, reference library of our lives. I'm getting a bit doom and gloomy here, so let's take the eyes somewhere different, to a place that makes us happy. The sight of your first grandchild, the feeling of pride when you see your child or children graduate, seeing the twinkle in your partner's eyes. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that one, don't we? It's the brain connects on a whole host of levels, from tears of joy to pride, to the physical, emotional connection of being one and complete. I'm a writer, and the written word and the voice is my way of communicating with complete strangers who listen or listen to me read. So let's go back in history before the advent of television and look at the charismatic figures that shaped world history. As you know, I'm British, and thanks to today's technology, I can listen to Winston Churchill's speeches and view the text. The radio and newspapers was the only way in those days of communicating to the people. He was a man through his words and voice who cradled a nation under attack to inspire and to give them hope. Here's just an extract from Churchill's speech. And he talks about the fall of France and the forthcoming battle for Britain. I expect the Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and a long continuity of our institutions and our empire. The whole fury and might of the enemy will be soon turned upon us. Hitler knows he will have to break this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free, and the life of the world may move forward into broad upland pastures. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Isles and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was our finest hour. The same could be said of Adolf Hitler at the Nuremberg rallies. The aggressive nature of his voice against the soft lilt of Churchill. It was so stage managed, with the Nazi swastikas blazoned everywhere, soldiers holding flaming torches. Yet he brought his people together, but for different reasons, to right the wrong of the First World War. Martin Luther was another great orator, who could connect emotionally with everyone that listened. We can all recall the I Have a Dream speech. Words and speech are a very powerful tool, ladies and gentlemen. If delivered with passion, will make an emotional connection. And these three charismatic figures have that gift. A word also. A word on its own can convey an emotional response. Congratulations. Sorry. Accident. Goodbye. And compliments. Words of sorrow. Words of joy. Words of loss. Though sometimes we misinterpret and take words out of context. thinking it's criticism. This, if you observe, will normally follow. That's not what I was saying. Being able to understand other sensibilities goes a long way in making an emotional connection. I will now pass the baton over to Anna.
As Michael indicated, seeing moving events and hearing effective orators draw us to connect to them in strong ways. They evoke emotions to come out of their subconscious hiding places and change the demeanor and moods of observers, which inspire or incite them to take action. Why does the subconscious mind have so much power over us? Well, it has to, because it's the reason you don't have to will your hearts to beat or your lungs to breathe. But its primary function is to assure we stay alive. Otherwise, it loses its other job, which is to keep our bodies, mind, and emotions functioning. Your subconscious mind is machine-like in its dedication to keeping you safe, and it uses fear as its main motivator to get your cooperation. Even if you are striving to live through your heart and love, the 95% of your mind that is subconscious has a lot of control over you, and its agenda isn't always aligned with your conscious goals. If you've ever experienced a broken heart and the deep feeling of loss that goes with it, your subconscious mind can sense danger when the possibility of it happening again presents itself. To keep you out of danger's way, it automatically puts up defense walls of fear around your heart. This fear sets you up to sabotage your own efforts to get close to someone again. Your subconscious mind's choice to take your conscious mind's choice to take another chance on love is in conflict with your subconscious mind's mandate to keep you from danger. Your hard-working subconscious mind is just doing its job effectively. It isn't capable of telling the difference between the risk of being eaten by lions and the risk of suffering another broken heart. It senses only that there is danger and uses fear to keep you from it. The subconscious believes danger can lead to your death, and to be fair, there is no doubt that people actually do die of broken hearts. More importantly, however, is the fact that by far people live longer, healthier, happier lives with a life partner, according to the research literature. However, since your subconscious mind's main priority is to keep you from danger, it initiates protective measures to secure your safety, even if you are willing to take a risk on love and long to have it in your life again. It can automatically throw up red warning flags out of nowhere, causing a psychological chain reaction in your body. 1 minute you are fine, and the next minute you're squirming in your chair, your heart is racing, you're perspiring like a sprinter, you can't get out of there fast enough, and your promising date goes to hell without your conscious consent. Despite your desire for love, and regardless for your need for intimacy, you are a victim of your own highly effective survival mechanism. Your subconscious mind senses that you are in danger and activates this mechanism, and blame, self-recrimination, and more lonely time follows. To add insult to injury, the subconscious originating misery that we blame ourselves for can feel like it came from our conscious minds. If you believe that you are flawed for driving away a prospective mate, now is the time to give yourself a break. It's just not possible to fix this or any other disruptive subconscious originating reaction without being aware of its dynamics, or even that it's possible to fix. If you believe that you are romantically doomed because you are, pick any of one or a combination of the following words: inept, afraid, weak, stupid, frigid, awkward, damaged, hopeless, clueless, paying for some past sin, or unworthy, then this story you are telling yourself is the reality you are living in. That is the power of your unchecked subconscious mind to make a great person like you believe a fiction like this. That is the power of your beliefs to make or wreck your life. Who knew? You can stop beating yourself up for self-sabotaging your attempts at romance. You are not to blame for the pain your subconscious mind has inflicted on you in the past. Only what you consciously do or don't do to keep it from happening again, now that you are aware of it. There is every reason to believe that you will have love in your life. If love didn't work out before, it's likely because the two of you didn't work well together, not just because of you alone. Sometimes things aren't meant to be. However, feeling the appreciation and support that having a life partner offers enables humans to flourish in all areas of our lives and is more than worth taking a chance to get. It is essential to understand that it's difficult to get a great person in your life if you don't feel great about yourself. The way you feel about and see others is a reflection of the way you feel about and see yourself. Learning skills to deal with the parts of you that don't serve your experience of life well is supremely valuable. Self-improvement is good. Self-development is better. Self-evolvement is best. 3.5 years ago, my husband of 33 years died of early onset Alzheimer's disease. I was his sole caregiver for the last 10 years of his life. And for the last 4 years of it, I spent 45% of each week at home caring for him. After so much isolation, I became socially inept. And I was so aggrieved that making an emotional connection bordered on the impossible in my eyes. My daughter and I suffered his loss so much that the strain of not being able to help ourselves, much less each other, alienated us, to the point that I thought we may never be close again. This happened even though we had always been very emotionally connected her whole life. To salvage and rebuild our connection, I made healing my battered emotions and autoimmune diseases my main priority, because I realized that if I could learn to heal myself, I could help her to learn as well. In the end, I came to terms with the fear that had stolen my life away and healed. Then I helped my daughter to heal too. The miracle of this could not have happened unless I had made me a priority first. Women, especially, are deeply ingrained with the practice of doing for everyone else and tending to their needs last. This habitual emotional bad habit takes its toll in isolation, negative feelings, and a lackluster experience of life. Since we are predominantly feeling beings by nature, negative feelings have a damaging effect on our vital aspects. Most negative feelings are easily attributable to subconscious fear. It is my belief that our emotional aspects affects how we experience our lives more than any other human aspect. And emotional connection is the main determiner of if the way we experience our life feels good or bad. For the sake of how good you feel in your own skin, it is beyond beneficial to understand this and to improve your own very limited life by improving your emotional connections, starting with the one you have with you. Giving yourself unconditional love acknowledges that you are okay with being human and all that entails, and that you are willing to be compassionate to yourself so you can be compassionate to others. These are deeply healing and beneficial to you and those you care about. Embracing these concepts and applying them to yourself makes you feel better ongoing. Now that's emotional wisdom. And as I point out in my soon-to-be-released book, Get What You Need, Skills to Build Your Destiny, you don't have to be perfect to have a life that's perfect for you. Thank you for coming today. back to Michael to wrap up our presentation on emotional connection. Sorry.
She's so good at it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming. I know it's a very deep subject that we touched on today. Basically, we only scratched the surface because of time restraints. And as I was sat listening to Anna read, I looked throughout the audience here and I didn't see anybody asleep, which I guess is a good thing. So I hope we're emotionally connected with you on some level. What I'd like to do to round off today's presentation is to read you a poem. And I hope it resonates with you because I do believe that unconditional love is love in its purest form. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for giving me, Margaret, the opportunity to present today. And here goes. The poem is called Unconditional. 'Tis the soul that bears witness beyond all realm, a path that leads down this uneasy life. Some say it is a quest of infinite possibilities, to seek and find that leaves no doubts, no shadows cast at all, no place to hide, no place inside, that buries dreams and aspirations. It is the harbinger of the raven's eye, that seeks the wing to fly and roost beyond the lowly canopy of multitudes. Let us seek ourselves before we seek the one, the only one. Or lest we die, let not that come unto you. For what costs love? For love is free. Oh, blind, invisible are we. Conditions falter this road, our destiny. So take this hand and now walk with me beyond this horizon. So we strive towards next upon shards of stone and razored wind that lashes not our skin but the fabric of our soul. For such treachery is love, though there is for us to forgive. For what is greater than this path? For rich and poor and meek and old. So find this one, a love be told. This womb of womb that takes you back, that asks for nothing in return. It is a love of love. Of what that gives in equal measure. No conditions or parameters will ever fall. It is unconditional. It is the most magnificent of all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I'm not on. Is this better? Yes. Thank you so much, Michael and Anna. Really appreciated that. We've got time for a couple of questions or comments. We might have trouble bringing the mic around, though. Do you have another mic that works back there?
Yes, I'd like to comment on a couple of topics that were touched on. Many years ago, when we were living in Houston, we had a priest who would twice a year, had to take his old pickup and load used clothes into it and drive to the border to get to people. And in one of his homilies, he said, "We believe that we have such superior knowledge because we live in a technologically advanced society. But I tell you, we have lots to learn from people in developing countries." Now, it's been my experience, I lived in Argentina for 8 years, that this seems to be a characteristic of the Latin societies where the connections between human beings are closer. And I don't know about other developing countries, I have that experience. The second point was that about alienation in competitive societies. As time goes on, they become more and more globalized, and that makes drives our societies to be hyper competitive. At some point, the society has to make the decision: does the economy serve the people, or do the people serve the economy?
Any other? Question in the back here.
Hi, thank you very much. By the way, I think the person who introduced you mispronounced your city of origin. It's not Hull, it's Hull. That is an injunction. Anyway, about this topic of emotional connection, I was wondering if, and you talked about loneliness at times, isolation. We all wear happy faces most of the times around here, and it's certainly a place to do so. But I at times wonder if there isn't a lot of loneliness and isolation as well in the hearts and souls of people who live here, even though we live in this wonderful place. And as a recovering alcoholic, I used to work the alcohol hotline for people who felt the urge to drink for whatever situation they might have been in. Somebody to call, and you would listen to them, and then maybe send some help for them. And I wonder if at times if that might not be something we should have here as well, a loneliness or connection-making hotline, if you like, where somebody at some point will listen and just listen, and perhaps give a word of hope to the person who might be in that situation.
The mic on? I'd just like to respond to this gentleman's comments here, because he makes a very valid point. Is that I'm looking at all his faces here today. What people have a tendency to do is they put on a mask, they put on a front. Yeah? So what you see is not what you are guessing. Right? Okay. So somebody that might be apparently seem happy on the outside then goes home and retreats back into the person that they've been trying to get away from. So there are probably people that are actually sat here that have that connection with those feelings. So when you leave or you stand up today, what I would like you all to do is just go up to a perfect stranger in the audience, just shake hands with them and just smile. Because that in itself, you have made an emotional connection. Thank you.
Another question in the back.
Anna, thank you for your wonderful talk, and the British gentleman, thank you as well. There are many people who do not have a partner in this community, and somehow it was suggested that having a partner makes for a longer, happier life. We all think of a partner as the perfect romantic relationship, which is very, 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 very difficult to achieve. So why not also consider having a deep partnership? It can be a spiritual partnership with someone. It can be a deep relationship with another woman, which does or doesn't make you a lesbian, that is secondary. But a deep relationship with any human being It can be a deep relationship with children. It can be a deep relationship with the Mexicans you have close to you. In my case, I am very close to my house assistant. She's a wonderful human being from whom I learned a lot, and I very closely bond to her. So if you want to have love in your life, also consider going out and giving love. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne, and that is a real valid point, and I meant to write about it, so thank you for bringing that up. A love relationship has really not a whole lot to do with a sexual relationship. It has to do with a heartfelt, close, deep relationship you have with another human being, and it is very healing. You don't have to have any sex involved, so thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, everybody, thank you again for coming. If you will, oh, another one? Sorry, I can't see that far.
A latecomer. Michael, in your many years of practice, what was your form of psychology? And secondly, our friend Sigmund Freud spoke much about the ego. You did not mention that. You spoke about the subconscious. So what is the relationship between the ego and the subconscious?
Well, am I on here? Okay, when I was doing my doctorate, I was never a big fan of Freud. So when I wrote my final thesis at university, I didn't disparage Freud's theories, because for me, when I was studying for my degree and my doctorate, is that I aligned myself with Jung. I believed that his theories were more tangible than what Freud's were. And my dissertation at the end got me my doctorate, even though there's a lot of Freudian people out there that think he walks on water. And I didn't see that. And so I didn't want to bring Freud into this, because I could have brought Jung, I suppose, but I didn't want to bamboozle the audience with too much psychology, because when I started to write this, I didn't know what level that I was going to be delivering it to. I could have given you some deep psychology about emotional connection, which probably, I'm not saying, would probably go over a lot of people's heads. So when I said at the very end, sir, that I just scratched the surface, I just wanted to connect and get people to think about what it is and why we are on this planet. And to connect with people is the most essential thing that we should do in our lives. So thank you for that question. Thank you.
Thank you both again. I forgot to mention earlier that if you want to be on the email list to find out what programs are coming up, there's a sign-up sheet under the tree. And also now, before you leave, if you'll make sure your coffee cups are taken into the garbage and you stack your chairs. And don't forget about turning the clock back next week. And we'll see you then. Thank you for coming. Turn